X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly X-Men podcast where we rank every story from A to Z.
I'm Adam.
And I am Zach. Adam, how are you on this day?
I am good. It feels like it's been about a month since we recorded our last episode, but I just checked. It was only 8 days.
Yeah, guys, so you know how we've been benchmarking these episodes a lot of the times by just letting people know that we are still on the bad times. Like, if you're going through and you're checking our old feed, as some people are wont to do, and you're like, I want to check out this episode, it seems like it'll be a good one. I want you to know that while we're recording this, we're either at the end of the bad times or at the start of the bad times. And we don't know which one yet. The election has happened, and it technically is over, and some people just don't want to admit that. But I have hope, Adam.
I have hope as well. I have so much hope. I'm being optimistic. I'm so hopeful, Zach. I'm full
you
of
just picked
hope.
up. You just picked up what I did there, didn't you? No, this episode,
I just tried to say hope a couple more extra times because this episode's about hope.
Yeah, this episode's about hope. Rebellions are built on hope. Hope floats. There's so many hopeful things in this world that we just gotta... Listen, if hope can float, then we all can float on, all right?
All right. Whoa, man. Oh, my God.
That one got you there. That one got you. I like that. We're talking about Hope Summers.
Yes, the mutant messiah, the savior.
I love Hope. I love Hope so much.
I do too.
I think I love her more in concept than in execution, if I'm being real.
Well, it depends on who's writing her. But these are some of the first stories where we really see Hope kind of break out on her own. And really try and, I guess, be the mutant messiah, be the savior. So what's this first request that we have here?
Well, the request came from
we're
Andrew
doing the request
Robertson.
second.
And we're doing the request
Yes.
second, but that's fine. But Andrew Robertson did go over to patreon.com/battleoftheatom, dug deep into his hearts and his pocketbook, and said, y'all, I would like to support your good podcast. And thus we took his money, and he said, please talk about Hope Summers, and we made a whole episode about her. So he should be happy. And if he's not, then no refunds. I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. You literally gave us this money a while ago, and our list is very long. I'm sorry.
Yes.
It is a long
There's
list.
a coin shortage, so, there's no change.
No change. No change.
Bank
Bank doesn't open till 10. I can't get more change. I'm sorry. No change. This is so. Let's give some context for this first story. Should we give context? Do we want to live in a world with context, Adam?
I do. I like living with facts and science. It's
And
great.
information.
So we should give some context because we're about to enter the heroic age.
Yeah, this is part of the heroic age. We're talking about the 5 lights. It's Uncanny X-Men 526 to 529. It's written by Matt Action Fraction with art for the most part by Will Sportasio. This is coming right after Second Coming. So for Hope's chronology, just came back from the future. Everyone tried to kill her in the present. Then her dad died. So she's having a rough one. Cable's going to be fine. Cable dies so much, guys. Y'all know how much
we were
Cable
just talking
dies?
about that. Cable dies all the time.
After this story where he dies in 2010, between 2010 and 2020, do you know how many times Cable dies? Like 3 minimum. I think it might be more.
And we'll get to an element in a story later on today where he basically dies daily. So we'll get to that.
Yeah, we will. But no, so this is right after that. So this is the fallout of fallout of Second Coming. They're on Utopia. Everyone's having a good time. Hope is figuring out what she wants to be, what she wants to do. And she's decided, well, Dad's dead. I guess I'll figure out what my birth parents were like. To them, I just disappeared like 6 months ago. So I bet they're interesting. So she goes on that quest while the two other storylines going through. One, 5 lights have appeared at the end of Second Coming on Cerebro, which are the 5 newest mutants that have reappeared. The first mutants after M-Day. And then also, Emma Frost is really mad at Sebastian Shaw for reasons that you can check out our last episode just to get a general vibe of their dynamic. It's fine.
And we've also covered
you don't need to know much about that.
She takes her revenge, so that's on another episode as well.
Yeah, that's right after this.
Right. So this is right after Magneto has brought Kitty Pryde back from bullet space.
Yeah, so she's still intangible.
Again, Kitty can't be tangible to tell the love of her life, Pyotr Rasputin, that she loves him. Ugh.
I'm glad we've decided to stop doing that. I really am. But man, we kept doing it. Even up until last year, we were doing it a little bit. And they had gotten unmarried. Or gotten very close to getting married and then didn't before then. So it's man, we've got to stop with that one.
Decades of that. So yeah, I mean, we're learning a couple things here. Am I mistaken that we learned that Hope is like kind of the Jesus baby? Like no dad?
She had a dad. We don't know much about him, and we never find out anything about him, which is great.
Okay.
We do find out about her mom, whose name was Louise Spaulding. Also known as Wheezy, I guess you would think. Hey,
sure.
Hey, Hope's grandma, or Hope's mom. Hope, the daughter of Cable. Mm-hmm. Her mom's named Wheezy. Get it?
It's great.
Take that, Rob.
Dad's not named Rob.
I mean, we don't know her dad's name, but yeah, they have a immaculate conception. Well, I guess Mary's technically the immaculate conception thing, but y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yes,
the virgin
in most
birth.
Parlance, people say that. Yes. So we got that going on. We meet the 5 lights.
Well, 4 out of 5, 80%.
Yeah, we don't meet the 5th one, right? But we get most of them.
Yeah, we get Transonic, we get Velocidad, we get Feral, and we get Aidi. Aidi Okinawa.
Yes. I feel like Edie is really the only one. Is it Edie or Aidi? I never really thought about that.
I actually think it's Edie, and I screwed up real bad. My bad.
Hey, no worries. I mean, she's got fire and ice powers, so...
it's very generic powers. I don't...
yeah. I feel like Edie's really the only one that kind of stuck around, though. I mean, the rest of these... And we'll talk more about them throughout the episode, but...
They're kind of weird characters. Like, these are the... You get a chance, Matthew... You get a chance, Matthew Fraction, which I actually think Kieran Gillen did a lot more about with these than Matt Fraction. And I know Jamie McKelvey did their designs. But you start with this, and you go with Blue Flying Girl. You go with... That's all she is. She's X-Men colors, which means her skin's blue.
Right.
And she can fly very fast, which is a boring power set. That's a basic level for most superheroes, and also you can fly. So that's a weird one for her to choose. I like Lori Transonic as a character, but she's not that interesting of a... She's like fine as a character. She's not anything special.
No.
You get Edie, who a lot of people really like, but I don't care for too much because I have weird mixed feelings about the Aaron Wolverine and the X-Men run.
See, Edie is the most interesting of them because she's an actual character with a personality. Like the rest of these, the power sets on all of them are pretty dumb. Like they're not particularly creative. It's like,
Well, I'd say Feral is creative. Feral has a creative power set because he has hyper survival instincts where he only thinks about feeding, mating, and fighting. Which is an interesting idea and makes for not that interesting of a character because you can only do one of three things at all times. And one of them is incredibly inappropriate and probably like maybe we shouldn't do that in a comic is have him want to mate with everyone all the time.
Yes. He's also basically just Wild Child. I mean,
yeah,
like all of these characters have some sort of equivalent for the most part.
Velocity go fast.
Right. Okay.
I don't like Edie only. I think it's weird to have her be such a self-hating character and that never really get resolved. Like, I get Catholic guilt. That makes sense. But this whole thing about this African child just thinking she is the worst monster of all the world and everything is terrible. And no one really dissuading her from that all that much.
Yeah.
That I don't love.
It's a Rain
it is.
Playbook.
It's just Rain.
It's pretty much just Rain, right? Like, same basic premise. I like the character's evolution. I think a little higher of the Aaron stuff than I know you do, but
I need to reread it. But I said,
but again, all of this comes down to
why would I want to reread it? I'll wait for someone go request it. I'll read it for the show.
I don't think this story is really helped by the fact that we're dealing with ladder Portasio art here for the majority of it as well. And
yeah, Wills is not doing his best work.
It's recognizable as Wills, and there are parts of it where I'm like, wow, this page is kind of cool, but even so, like the page layouts, the character designs, I think we've talked about him being on the book in this era because he does that. One of the issues that comes right before this, and it's he's not doing the same level of work that I think we kind of got used to in the 90s. Like it's just a different take on the evolution of his style.
Yeah, I think the art suffers a lot in here. It doesn't hit the emotional beats that you need for the story.
Right.
Like, it doesn't help heighten the story that should be a big deal. These are the first mutants in, well, I guess 5 years. These are for X-Men. That's a lot to go without introducing new characters. These are the first ones, and you do nothing with them. Like they're just kind of there. I mean, that doesn't work for me. I love Fraction as a writer. I think Fraction's incredibly talented. I don't think his Uncanny X-Men run is very good.
I would love to see how the script for these issues describes, how to lay out the pages. Because, most comic strips at least say, like, 5 panels, I need this and this panel, I need this and this. And there are certain pages here where the page layouts are basically just like, oh, here are 4 exactly the same rectangles and divide down the middle and divide down the middle. And, if you look at the way Wills is rendering some of these characters, including their faces, like it's not terrible. It's just the layout of the page and the way in which things are framed within panels. Just there's a lot of weird, like, negative space here. The storytelling is very weird.
Well, I know that Fraction is his scripting style is very much, I need to know what artist I'm going to be working with. And I build a script around that. Now, how much of that has come since this era, when he was on Uncanny X-Men and had to hit the schedules and make sure books were coming out and all that, versus who he is in 2020, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. So anyway, Hope gathers the 5. Emma has some conversations with Namor and Tony Stark. Weird.
It's a weird follow-up from an annual that's not very good. That's all it is. Yeah. And the annual sets up that not only does she hate Shaw, but she hates him for very weird, specific reasons. And Namor and Tony Stark are involved because they're all billionaires and they're all horrible. I don't care for this story, that part of the story. I don't think it works very well. It's trying to pick up the relationship between Kitty and Emma from Astonishing, which is a good relationship in general. And it's good that they have a dynamic. And that's now playing out beautifully in Marauders.
Right.
But we just don't get that much here. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's what it is.
Yeah. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is kind of a dud. Like it's said, it's a total missed opportunity. You know, if you're going to be introducing, these miraculous mutants, to just, well, here they are. And they're kind of just plain old school mutants. Like they're just not that interesting. So doesn't really feel all that inspired. So what do you say we rank this on our giant list, Zach?
Are you talking about our very long list of 432 X-Men stories ranked from best to worst, with the number 1 being the House of X and the Powers of 10, number 100 being the Nimrod arc of New X-Men Academy X Kiddos, the 200th story being Cable 64, 'Twas the Night Before Dying, the 300th being Daken Dark Wolverine, 13 through 15 Moonwalking, the 400th being Magneto Rex, and the bottom story being the Draco.
Yeah, that's the list. I'm just not thrilled by this. Like I want to be.
It's not interesting or exciting or good is the problem. So it's better at 415. We have a story from the Fraction arc Sisterhood, and it's better than that by a good margin.
I don't think it's as good as at 260. We have Quarantine, which comes right after this.
I was looking for that. Yeah, it's not as good as Quarantine.
No.
I don't think it's as good as that Daken Dark Wolverine arc at 300.
Nope. No, I don't think it is either. So we're definitely going into the 300s here.
What's 350? 350 is Fall of the Mutants from New Mutants, and I think this is better than that.
Yeah, I'll give it that. I don't think it's quite that bad.
It's better than Cyclops Retribution from MCP.
But
okay, I've got one. I've got one I want to throw at you.
Yeah. Go ahead.
At 324 is Cable 26 through 28, The Long Way, which is that really weird one where Cable goes to Genosha, but there's that good last thing where the whole issue's just a countdown, and that's pretty cool.
I thought we kind of liked parts of that. So
I did kind of like parts of that. I didn't love all of it.
I am going to say that, yeah, I'm looking at what you're highlighting right now. So at 328 is that X-Force arc where they go back in time.
The Haunting of Castle Doom?
Yeah, to stop to punch Nazis, and that was cooler than this.
Yeah,
but
that's
I think
right.
It's
they
better.
do punch Nazis there.
I do think it's better than the Muir Island saga.
I agree with that. That's at 330.
Yeah, which in Wils's defense, his art is much better in the Muir Island saga than it is here.
Oh, absolutely.
But the storytelling is a little more coherent here.
Right.
So
it's
what's
just
in between
Matt Fraction
here?
writing this one. That's Uncanny X-Men first class number 8, The Curse of the Kralich. That's the time that there was a Leprechaun murder mystery.
Oh, right.
I think the Leprechaun murder mystery is better because it's a Leprechaun murder mystery.
I was going to say, we got to give the edge to that. So this is our new 330.
This is our new 330. It's Uncanny X-Men, The Five Lights. You want to talk more about the Five Lights?
Yeah, we gotta give some more airtime to these 5 lights.
We gotta talk about those 5 lights.
Screen time.
You got Gold Balls, you got Elixir, you got Proteus, you've got Tempest.
Not those 5.
Oh,
which,
I thought we were talking
again,
about those 5.
as we talked about on our Hawks podcast issue, what a brilliant subversion of this idea to twist it in half. But instead, why don't we throw him to Kieran Gillen and just have him fight Akira? Like, that sounds great.
Yeah, Kieran Gillen does an Akira. Hey, I watched Akira for the first time over
get
the
out.
summer. I had
What'd you
never
think?
seen it.
Did you like it?
I think that everyone who thinks that part where he's riding the motorcycle and then he slides the motorcycle, I think that looks pretty darn cool and that rules.
Yeah.
I think the rest of it, it's fine. It's not for
Wow.
me.
Wow.
It's not for me.
A ringing endorsement.
I think the sexual
It's only
assault's
like-
a little uncomfortable in the middle of it for that teenage girl. I think that part's bad.
Of
I think
course, there's some like incredibly troubling elements of it.
I think there's a lot of really bad anime tropes in there that I don't particularly care for. I do think that Kaneda gets turned into a weird squishy flesh monstrosity and helps bring all of humanity to ascend into one another, which is weird. But he looks nice while he's doing it.
He sure does. And that's kind of what we've got going on here, because the Five Lights are trying to find a new mutant, this kid Kenji. And,
by the way, this is Generation Hope 1 through 4.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Sorry.
We forgot. It's Generation Hope 1 through 4, but he's pulling a what, Adam? Kieran Gillen and Salvador Espen do this one. He's pulling a what, Adam?
A Kaneda. Like, Kaneda! He's turning into, like, the monster guy. And, we should mention this is drawn by Salvador Espen.
Yep. Hey, not only is he doing that, literally in the second issue, there's a double-page spread. That's the second most famous image from Akira, with the explosion in Tokyo.
Oh yeah,
are they in Tokyo? Yeah, they're in Tokyo here.
They are, and he levels the city
with the little orb, with the that perfect sphere orb thing that happens in Akira.
Yep.
So it's just Kieran Gillen launching a book by saying, "Y'all really like Akira, right?"
And that's basically what they're gonna do. They're gonna spend the first arc here battling this like body horror monster, and it's what's happening.
That sure is the plot of this one. Do you like Kenji?
I mean, it's an interesting idea, I guess. I don't really have much of a thought past the fact that it's kind of like a play on a very popular anime. He is essentially
obsessed. Is the thing. He is obsessed with art and high art ideals.
I do like that aspect of it. You know, like that's kind of an interesting play on things, the way the character is introduced. That is very much like overshadowed by what he turns into, and the fact that like Hope essentially has to turn herself into like a monster kind of thing to defeat him. Like it basically turns into a Godzilla battle here.
Do you know what they were going to call him before they settled on his code name being? I guess he calls himself Zero later in the series in Generation Hope. Do you know what his code name was going to be?
I don't know. What was it?
It was going to be Ray, which is Japanese for zero, but is also Ray from Neo Genesis Evangelion, the other anime I've seen.
Oh man, classic.
Who also has weird body horror stuff.
Oh, big time. So yeah, I guess we know where what Kieran is watching in his off time. But I don't know that it makes for like the most classic of stories. It's drawn really well. I think it's cool the way it's illustrated. I like the monstrosity of it all.
Oh, Espen sells the body horror stuff.
Definitely. Much better than if we're including issue 4 here, right? Where they go back and they have to undergo a bunch of tests with Dr. Nemesis.
Yeah, which is drawn, and I apologize, I had that wrong. Scott Koblish jumps in and does a little bit of stuff on that one with Salvador.
Yeah, like his version of Kenji is still pretty cool, but Espen, I think, has it, it's grosser. With
Espen is doing looser lines, and I don't know how much of this is Espen and how much. He's inking himself. He's doing very sloppy inks. He's having a thick stroke and letting like ink splatter get places and doing things like that. So it adds to like that chaos and that grimy grossness of Kenji. So I think that's the part that works the best, even if it's an homage at best and derivative at worst. How do you feel about the interaction of the Five Lights? Do you think they make for a good team?
I mean, no, because again, they're still very much like non-entities, and I don't see the character growth. Like, we get to this point in issue 4 where Hope is, starting a romance here, and I just don't necessarily know how we're supposed to be building to these things with these characters that don't feel like they have a ton of life to them yet. Mm-hmm. Unless you disagree, I don't
disagree. Yeah. Because like what you get is ID, who hates herself,
right?
Tion Feral, who has no personality except for, again, fight, mate, and eat.
Right. So what can you do?
And he does fight Wolverine, which is a good part. That's the best part with him. Wolverine's like, okay, I guess we're going to fight, right? And he's like, yup. And then they fight. But Velocidad is the flirty boy. And Lori is just mad that she's in this situation.
Yeah.
And that's it. And that's their one character trait for these 4 issues. And I like Hope a lot. She's the title character of this book. It's Generation Hope. Mm-hmm. I do think it's an interesting choice to kick off your new, book about this new team of mutants with not focusing on the new characters and instead focusing on Hope, who has, even if she's newer, been around for a few years at this point. Like, Hope's established. You know what her deal is, even if she's still trying to figure out who she is in this world where she's already saved the mutants.
Well, and I mean, what have we been talking about since we started talking about this? We've been talking about the Kenji characters. So really the majority of the focus of the first 4 issues is on the introduction of this new character, its massive destruction of Tokyo, and then bringing him back to Utopia, where he's still kind of transforming and becoming whatever it is he's supposed to be. He thinks it's art.
Adam, he's becoming art.
I'm becoming art. So, with that much screen time devoted to this new character, we're not getting any sort of character development with the rest of the Lights, which, you would think that that's exactly what this book would be for, right? Like,
I think Idy's the only character of the Lights who ever gets any real characterization, and she gets written out of this book. Like, halfway through the run, she gets written out to go to Wolverine and the X-Men.
Yeah, well, hey, and at least there, I mean, whether you like it or not, Aaron did utilize that character quite a bit in that series. But, I think these characters are kind of doomed from the start because no one ever swoops in to rescue them. And they don't evolve. So, they're just kind of like, I don't know. They're not doing much of anything here. So
so wait, hold on. I got one thing to ask you. You have not read the rest of this run, right?
No, I have not.
Do you know who all joins the team by the end of this?
I believe, doesn't Pixie join the team?
Pixie joins the team, yes.
And
No Girl joins the team.
Yeah, No Girl.
And Sebastian Shaw.
Wait, what? That doesn't make sense. An adult?
Look, man, I didn't write it. James Asmus did on that one.
Okay.
But we're not talking about that story. That's just a little teaser for you.
Well,
on what's
now
coming.
Now I'm mildly curious.
There's actually better issues of this run right after this. Like I think the rest of what Gillen does is a good amount stronger than this opening arc of Generation Hope. But this one lands pretty flat for me.
I don't want to like absolutely condemn it, because I do think the the anime, sort of homage is kind of fun. It's not like it's this awful thing. It's a very strange way to open your book with.
It's such a weird way to open your book.
Right. Yeah.
That's like arc 3. You're like, hey, I really like Akira. Marvel, I know you love Akira. I know no one could, as long as someone references Akira, you're never going to give them any repercussions for anything ever. So can I do an Akira riff?
Yeah. And if you're going to do it, maybe it's just like a giant size X-Men type thing where you use this like kind of weird, grotesque villain to give your new characters some screen time to develop.
Yes.
But we don't get any of that, There's no sort of highlight pages to give you an idea of who these people are. But I do think it's... do you think it's better or worse than the Five Lights arc that we were?
I think it's better than the Five Lights.
I think it's better.
I think it's better than. I think it's better than 302 Monet Vampire Hunter.
I would agree. I was looking at that as well.
How do you feel about it compared to Uncanny X-Men 401 to 406 X-Core?
I think X-Core is taking maybe some more risks in just trying something new. I didn't love that. I think I probably liked the art in Generation Hope better.
Well, I've got a good comparison that's right up above it. So hold tight.
Okay.
How do you think of it compared to number 281, Children of the Atom from the mid 90s, the 35th anniversary special where all of Cerebro's X-Men showed up?
Oh, that's much better. I mean, it's silly, but that's a much better story. And I would definitely argue that the highlights of Extinction Agenda are better than this. That's a 282.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I did not see Extinction Agenda. That one's better.
How do you feel about it compared to like... See, okay, at 287 is...
It's Bishop's Crossing. It's not as good as Bishop's Crossing.
I can't put it ahead of that. I think there's some other stuff here, like the X-23 arc.
Is it better or worse than X-Men Primer? X-Men Volume 4, 1 through 3 Primer. The Brian Wood, Olivier Coipel, who does covers on this.
That's actually a really good comparison, because that's, again, a villain-centric kind of story. But I might give the edge to this, honestly. I think Kenji's a more interesting thing than Archaea.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't like it as much as Girls' School from Heck, though.
No.
Girls' School from Heck got good art.
291?
This is our new 290 where Generation Hope 1 through 4. The future is a 4-letter word.
All right.
That word is hope. The word's hope. That's the joke of this. It's not a cuss. The word's hope.
So,
man, you can tell that Barack Obama was very recently appointed president when this book was conceived. This was before the Senate got taken over, and he stopped being able to do anything, but just right before.
Yeah, well, they got a lot done before that.
Listen, Obama wasn't perfect, but
no,
dang.
Every president is a war criminal, but here's, we can still have some dignity, right? All right, so Hope is an interesting character, but I think the weirdest take on Hope is probably the story we're going to talk about next, right?
Yes, you're absolutely right. We're actually going to talk about the last arc in a run that I like a good amount. I think it's flawed, but I think it's got a lot of interesting stuff going on. It's Cy Spurrier's X-Force, and we're going to be talking about issues 11 through 15, Us versus Them. Written by Cy Spurrier, with art on most of the issues by Rock-Hee Kim, with Tang-Yen Hutt and Kevin Sharp filling in on issue 13.
Now, we have not talked about this series before yet on the show, have we?
We have not. We have talked about Spurrier's X-Men Legacy. We've talked about X Club, and we've talked about I guess it is X-Men Legacy, number 300,
Yes.
the Forget-Me-Not story.
Yeah.
But we've not talked about his X-Force.
This is a weird book, and I like it a lot. What a strange, like, out there. Spurrier's really kind of pushing the edges here, like, especially because this came on the heels of Cable and the X-Force, which I also enjoyed, but
so let's talk about X-Force as a brand.
Yes.
In the 2000s, in the let's call it present, but 20 years ago times, you had X-Force got turned into X-Statix. And then they said, okay, but that's really X-Statix. That's not X-Force. And that's fair. And then the Rob came back for a hot minute and they tried to do the 90s again and said, nope, that don't work. And then they switched it up and they said, well, let's make them all be the bad murder team. And there's good and bad in that. And that's the same direction that Rick Remender's Uncanny X-Force takes with the team. Mm-hmm. But then they decide to do something completely different, which is the Cable and the X-Force run, which is a little goofier and a little more fun. And at the same time, a second volume of Uncanny X-Force that we've talked about on the show that I don't like, but some people like.
That did not work.
Then Spurrier makes them like, no, we're going to be a Black Ops team. Like, you want me to write a Black Ops book? I'm going to write a Black Ops book, and we're going to talk about how these are... Adam, you know how you just talked about how all presidents are war criminals?
These folks have some issues.
That's this book. This book is, hey, all of X-Force are war criminals and they're really bad, and the Central Intelligence Agency and nation building is horrible and forces people to cross giant moral lines because they are broken individuals who have to fight for supremacy. And if we are fighting for supremacy and fighting against one another, we are only going to tear each other down. And if we can work together and build something like a group of 5 people coming together and joining hands and becoming a resurrection machine, then we can have eternal life. And that eternal life is our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, or also, I guess, Krakoa?
Wow. That was quite the leap.
Listen, I tried. She is the mutant messiah, to be fair.
Yes.
To be fair.
Hope is the mutant messiah. However, the Hope that we encounter in the majority of Spurrier's X-Force run is almost unrecognizable because she is trapped on the astral plane and being represented by a dead mutant named Mimi. Or meme.
Like funny pictures on the internet, even though that's not what meme used to mean, but now that's what meme means. How people got bad that image macros were not memes, but then image macros did become all memes, and they did subsume the idea culturally of a meme.
Hey man, language is flexible and it changes over time. But
Mudkip, like?
I always
read
this as
cheeseburger.
Do you say meme or Mimi? Because meme is capital. The M's are capitalized in the character name on the introduction page. So I never knew.
I think Cy Spurrier wants it to be Mimi because he truly believes in the sociological idea of a meme, an idea that is, like spread through culture, through a zeitgeist and things like that. Like a virus or something like that like you don't know where it came from. It's just this ever-present thing that's now spread through ideas. But it's meme because that's what we all decided it was.
Well, and meme or Mimi is an interesting visualization because it's a series of floating projectors that is basically creating a 3D holographic image of a head. That has
it's
sort
a
of
drone.
Like
it's a drone.
A rainbow. Yeah. It's just this floating drone head. And that is also Hope, but it's unbeknownst to the majority of the team.
Meme's an alive but brain dead mutant who is hanging out next to Hope, who is also in a coma, and Hope copied her powers. That's how it happened. That's important to know, that there is a logic to it. This, because it sounds like nonsense what you and I are saying.
Well, if you jumped in at any point, you could be completely lost, because we've got a Cable that is cloning himself daily. Every day. So he has to be killed at the end of every day. We have a Domino who is off on a secret mission working for a secret villain who turns out to be Mojo.
Can we talk about Yellow Eyes for a second?
Yeah, Yellow Eyes. Like, this is the most bonkers reveal in this book.
It's weird, but it works. So,
it works great. It's just so, like, I remember when this was coming out, and I was so blown away by that reveal. It's a real weird one.
Because Yellow Eyes, he is an information broker. He is a surveillance guy. And when you see Mojo, you're like, oh, son of a gun. He would be the one to have a bunch of TVs. He already knows how cameras work.
Right. But he's wedged himself into this body, like this Krang
body. He squished himself into, like, Krang.
Right.
He's Krang.
He's Krang.
It's very good.
Yeah. It's great. So the lineup here of psychos is Cable, cloning Cable. We have Psylocke, who, again, building off of Remender's run, doesn't want to kill.
She is horny for murder in this one.
We have Marrow, who has traded her unborn child for her powers back and has lost her gosh darn mind. Phantom X, who we'll get it probably into a little bit more depth in a second. Dr. Nemesis, and we mentioned Domino Ari. But we also have Forget Me Not, who is making an appearance in this story for his second appearance in XCOM.
Love Forget Me Not. And I love what Forget Me Not's role in this is.
Mm-hmm.
Because Forget Me Not essentially says, y'all, what are you doing? You're doing so much murder.
Right.
Don't do that. Hope, why are you complicit with all of this murder? Well, because my dad raised me in an apocalyptic wasteland and murder was all we knew. And he's like, that's fair, but look, Meme's over here and she's dying and she's really cool and she's innocent and she just wants to help out. And maybe you could not do a murder. Anyway, he's great. Phantom X has gone very crazy and does want to prove that he's the best thing that's ever existed by murdering everything else.
Right. Yeah, because he has the defect that indicates that he is the best at everything. And when this is the only part of this storyline that I really think is icky and I do not like, is the fact that Hope and Phantom X have some sort of, like, I don't know how to describe it.
It's not.
Is it a hookup? It's
not a hookup because they're.
It's astral. It's not physical. But
it's not even astral. Like, it's digital.
Yeah.
It's ones and zeros. They're cybering. Hope's cybering with Phantom X. But Hope is pretending she's not Hope. So Hope is catfishing Phantom X, but Phantom X knows that Hope's catfishing him because he knows everything because he's the best, and he's playing along with it so that he can get his goals. So it's gross and it's bad, and Phantom X is supposed to be the bad character in this. I don't like that happening to Hope. I think that's bad and gross, and I don't like that very much. It's nothing explicit. It's a thing that could be done worse. It's that thing where Hope was a kid for so long, and even now that she's, like, pretty much not a kid, she's still a kid.
She's still a kid, though.
Like, yeah, I think we're supposed to feel like it's gross, but it is gross.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Phantom X is not supposed to be the good guy here. He goes, like, full-on Antichrist here, and, man, he's absolutely insane in the last couple issues of this. Now, you brought up an interesting point. You said that you believe that there's like a turning point towards the end of this arc here, right?
Well, so if you like look at the way the book had been paced for a while, you get a couple of stories that it's moving at a general pace, up through about issue 12, which is when you get the Yellow Eyes reveal and you get all this stuff, and then issue 13 kicks into place, and everything has to go as fast as possible, to the point that the book even makes fun of itself by saying, hey, we caught the big villain that we've been trying to catch off page. Isn't that dumb? To be fair, Mojo's saying, isn't it dumb that you guys caught him off page? That's dumb, right?
Yeah.
I'm like 100% sure that's when Cy Spurrier found out, hey, Cy, you got 3 issues to wrap this one up.
And it's still a really cool finale, because it's just this like insane, over the top, action packed finale that involves an army of Cable clones. And what a fantastic finale with Hope, basically taking over X-Force and telling her father that he's fired.
So for me, the finale works because there is strong, emotionally resonant stakes for every one of the characters involved, with maybe the exception of Dr. Nemesis. But Dr. Nemesis he's a bit character that Spurrier writes well. That's fine. He's
always just Dr. Nemesis, right?
He's doing his thing. Dr. Nemesis doesn't need character growth. He needs to punch Nazis and do science. That's all he's got to do. He's perfect the way he is. No one hurt Dr. Nemesis. He's just fine. Everyone else, though, does get they get a reason to care about this arc. They get a reason to fight. They get a reason to want to stop Phantom X. And they all like kind of grow as people in a short amount of time, while a lot of plot's going through. And even if it's not done perfectly, I have to commend Spurrier for his economy of storytelling here, because he does a lot in a small page count. I would have loved to see the full version of this, but I think the version we have is good and interesting and does tell a story.
I do too. One thing we have not talked about is Rocky Kim's artwork, which I remember when the book came out was somewhat received poorly.
I can believe it
a lot. I like it a lot. I can totally understand why it would not be someone's cup of tea, but I think for a story this off kilter, it works pretty well. I really like it.
It's definitely off kilter. I think that's a great way to describe it. It's very scratchy. It can almost feel a little flat, I think is a way you could describe it. It's very, it's stuck in there. It's grimy. It's not something you see a lot in comics, though I'm not going to say I love it. I think it's an acquired taste, and I think on some panels and some pages it works better than others.
I think that's fair. It's definitely, like I said, it's not going to be for everyone. And I do think there's an interesting alternate timeline where who's the guy from X-Men Legacy that does the fill-in issue here?
Tong-In Hut.
Yeah, I think
Hut.
His issue is absolutely gorgeous as well.
Love it.
I really like the artwork there, and there's an interesting, just in my brain, just imagining what the series would look like if the illustrator was him throughout. But I do like the weirdness of Rocky Kim's stuff. Like, it's just so
it's weird.
Yeah, and it fits Spurrier's just, what am I reading here, And it stinks for Spurrier, because I think he just got the short end of the stick doing Hellblazer too.
He did. Hellblazer got caught up with the
COVID,
Rona,
right?
Yeah.
Spurrier's
great. Spurrier does not always work for me. He's done some stuff that I've liked. He's done some stuff that I was a little cold on. Spurrier is always one of the most interesting writers playing right now. He's going to do something cool. He's going to do something different. Is it always going to play well? I don't know. It'll depend. He's going to make me read a Black Knight book next month, and I hate Black Knight. I hate Black Knight so much, and I'm going to read that Black Knight King in Black one-shot that he's doing because it's by Spurrier, and I'm like,
it's going to be good. It's going to be interesting. It will be.
At writing.
He's definitely somebody to watch out for whenever he's doing something. So, let's get into ranking this, because I enjoyed this quite a bit.
I think this is my favorite story that we ranked on this set of episodes.
Absolutely. Yep.
I'm going up the list. I think it's better than 246 is Sabretooth in Charge from Weapon X. I think this is better than that.
Yep.
I'm trying to find... I think this is better than the first Purple Era X-Force issue at 216. That's X-Force 44.
I can get behind that. I think I like it better than the Christina Strain Generation X 6 and 7, which we ranked recently.
I agree with that. I'm looking at this list.
Would you put it ahead of Brood Trouble and the Big Easy?
Yeah, I mean, like, here's the thing, Adam. Let's compare the storytelling in Brood Trouble and the Big Easy to this versus that one does have Wolverine and Ghost Rider being broods on fire.
Yeah.
Like,
you know what? I'm jumping up this list. I think this is better than Phoenix Resurrection at 185.
165 is Shatterstar, the Tim Seeley series. I think this is better than that, though I think we're getting close to the right area of the list.
Yeah. How do you feel about it compared to 152, which is the X-Men Blue Crosstime Capers?
This is probably better than Crosstime Capers.
All right. So,
but I don't know if it's that much better, because I don't think it's better than...
I don't know if I would put it ahead of the Quest for Magic from New X-Men.
I agree. That's at 150 right now, but I would put it above our 151, which is X Factor Volume 3, Number 16, No Dominion.
I would agree with that. So this is going to be our new 151.
151 is X-Force Volume 4, 11 through 15, Us versus Them. Check out that X-Force run. You might have slept on it. It's actually, even if it's not a perfect run and it has some warts, like,
super interesting.
It's worth reading, because at least it's not just another X-Men story.
Nope.
Like,
there's
not a lot like it. So that's our episode. I want to thank Andrew for supporting our show this week. Andrew, again, went on over to patreon.com/Battle of the Atom. He threw money our way, and if you want to be like him, you can do the same thing, and we'll make an episode all about you. We also have some new and exciting... Actually, no, we haven't touched the tiers in a while, but it's the same ones. You can get episodes early if you want. You can... give opinions on other episodes or other stories that we can do during an episode. You can do stuff. It's fine. Go check it out or don't. If you don't, tell a friend about it. Give this episode one of them old retweets and say, "Hey, y'all, I really liked this one." And maybe if you're feeling spicy, go on over to the iTunes review place and just leave an iTunes review real quick and say, "Y'all, this is a good podcast." Hey, Adam, where can people find you on those interwebs?
Folks, you can always find me on Twitter at Arthur Stacy. And Zach, what's the latest and greatest with Xavier Files?
Well, the Xavier Files media empire is growing daily. It is a mimic idea that will subsume us all. And we shall become part of that great hive mind and ascend to the heavens, where we will make dumb video edits of Avengers Endgame that people take very seriously. That people think you're very serious when I don't know how clearer you could have been that it was a big joke that you made on Twitter. Go check out the Xavier Files on Twitter if you want to understand that reference, or don't. Frankly, you'll probably save 2 minutes and be happier for it. But Xavier Files also has a lot of really cool reviews and news articles and editorials. So go check that out. We've got stuff about Ten of Swords. There's so many swords. There's 10 of them. There's an arm wrestling tournament between Pog, the Crocodile Man, and Magic. It's a weird book.
Exciting
but that's
stuff.
that's all we've got going on. Next week, Adam, do you know what we're going to talk about?
What are we going to talk about, Zach?
We're going to get Ultimate. And we're going to talk about Ultimate X-Men stuff, but we're going to talk about Ultimate X-Men stuff that y'all don't remember and don't know about because you stopped reading by this point. And the Ultimate Universe post-Ultimatum? Wild. But until then, guys, this has been Battle of the Atom. We hope you survived the experience.
Get it!